Yeah, this is okay. Yeah, yeah. I knew I wasn't sure. I heard about this on Twitter like a couple months ago. He was on like, yeah. Hold up, I'm gonna look for the regular one. Yeah. Yeah, I know I wasn't tripping. I knew I heard this story before. Like, Logan. Oh yeah.
You'll be sick and tired of my face and my voice until this gets fixed. I will fight until my last breath for my daughter. Stop protecting the people that keep taking them from us. Please. You have the power. We put you in the power to do what you have to do. We're asking you, we're begging you all to stop this.
Damn, let me listen to the full thing, bro. I don't care about the fucking. Here we go. No mind. It's not it.
She was 5'3". She weighed 115 pounds. Bang! Dead. Gone. Why? Because Alexander Devontae Dickey, who was arrested 39 times, 25 felonies, was on the street. How about that?
Well, after that testimony, Congressman Ralph Norman now calling for Gibson's impeachment, saying someone with Dickey's record should have never been back on the street. We'll continue following up.
Purchases at multiple stores in Lexington County using Logan's stolen cards. Police would later review security camera footage from businesses listed in Logan's
And I'll take. Hell no. Give me out. Let me leave, please.
Recognized him immediately, not through sophisticated facial recognition technology, but because they had arrested him multiple times before. Afterward, Dickey continued driving to Saluda County, where he attempted to make additional purchases. It was clear that his spree ended
Kirk.
as the stolen vehicle broke down. Stranded, Dickey made a decision that would ultimately lead to his capture. He called a towing company and arranged for the disabled vehicle to be transported to a residence in Gaston, South Carolina. The home belonged to a female acquaintance of Dickey's. By this point, law enforcement had connected the dots between Logan's murder, the stolen vehicle, and the fraudulent credit card transactions. The Columbia Police Department was working in coordination with the Lexington County Sheriff's Office and the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division to track Dickey's movements. When Dickey called for the tow truck,
We are Charlie Kirk.
identify the Gaston
We carried us
law
by.
enforcement from multiple agencies converged on the Gaston home where the stolen vehicle had been towed. Dickey fled into nearby woods. This triggered an intensive manhunt that lasted through the night of May 3rd and into the morning of May 4th. The search was conducted under severe weather conditions, with officers tracking Dickey through wooded terrain in darkness and rain. Around 4 p.m. on Sunday, May 4th, a resident in Lexington County reported seeing a man emerge from the woods and steal a vehicle. The description matched Alexander Dickey. He drove the newly stolen vehicle a short distance before wrecking it. He then
Like bigger.
to the same Gaston residence where the original stolen vehicle had been towed, the home of his acquaintance. This time, Dickey forced entry into the home, which was unoccupied at the time. He barricaded himself inside as law enforcement officers surrounded the property. Officers issued repeated commands for Dickey to surrender. Instead of complying,
We are Charlie Kirk.
began to
We carried us
burning
away.
building. They found Dickey inside the master bathroom and extracted him through a window. He was immediately taken into custody and transported to a hospital. After being medically cleared, he was booked into the Lexington County Detention Center. Afterward, investigators arrived at the detention center and interviewed Dickey for several hours. A Lexington County judge promptly denied bond on the Lexington County charges, which included first-degree burglary and second-degree arson. Columbia Police Department investigators subsequently secured arrest warrants charging Dickey with an extensive list of crimes related to Logan's murder and the associated crime spree. At 30 years old, Dickey had nearly 40 arrests, at least 25 felony charges, and a decade-long pattern of violence. Despite this, he had spent only approximately 600 days in prison. His freedom on May 3rd, 2025, preceding the incident with Logan, was not the result of rehabilitation or second chances earned. It was the product of systemic incompetence, bureaucratic failures, and lenient punishment that allowed a dangerous predator to slip through the cracks again and again until an innocent young woman paid the ultimate price. Stephen Federico himself calculated that Dickey had been committing an average of 2.65 crimes per year since he was 15 years old. Court records and law enforcement databases occurred on April 9th, 2013.
Double grab one now.
Exemplified how incompetence transformed what should have been an open and shut case of repeat offender prosecution into another opportunity for Dickey to avoid a serious
Just for fun. I'm not taking this game seriously.
Under normal circumstances, Dickey would have faced enhanced sentencing as a repeat offender. South Carolina law provides for significantly longer sentences when defendants have previous convictions for similar crimes, precisely
Similar crimes.
habitual criminals. But Dickey's prior convictions from other South Carolina counties were missing from his official report. The prosecutor handling the 2014 case, reviewing Dickey's report before making a sentencing recommendation, saw what appeared to be a defendant with no significant prior criminal history. The judge, presented with a plea agreement based on that incomplete information, sentenced Dickey as a first-time offender. He received a 10-year sentence, but it was entirely suspended, meaning he would serve no prison time as long as he complied with probation conditions. Instead of being locked away for years as a repeat burglar, Dickey walked free. The second major failure in Dickey's criminal history occurred in 2023, just 2 years before the event involving Logan. He was charged with first-degree burglary. This was a serious felony charge that, given his extensive criminal history, should have resulted in substantial prison time. However, through a plea agreement, the charge was reduced to third-degree burglary, a lesser offense that carried a shorter maximum sentence. Dickey pleaded guilty to the reduced charge and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Even this reduced sentence, if fully served, would have kept Dickey incarcerated through May 2028. But instead, he did not even serve half of his sentence. He was credited with over 410 days of time already served and was granted additional sentence reductions for good behavior.
We are Charlie Kirk. Yes, sir.
As of now, Dickey has already been charged and indicted. He was indicted on June 25th, 2025 on 12 charges and faces additional charges. Dickey remains in custody without bond at the Lexington County Detention Center, where he has been held since his arrest on May 4th, 2025. Multiple judges have denied bond, and he will remain incarcerated until his case is resolved. As of January 4th, 2026, no trial date has been publicly announced or set. The case remains in pre-trial status approximately 8 months after the murder occurred. Born on February 22nd, 1955 in Bismarck, North Dakota, Arliss Dykema grew up in a tight-knit, conservative community where
Ooh, that white and tan.
were the central pillars of life. Her father, Marvin, was a respected figure in the community, and her upbringing was sheltered, grounded in the values of Reformed Church. By all accounts, Arliss was vibrant, popular, and social. At Bismarck High School, she was a standout figure selected for the
Is that Preppy Warpy?
3 consecutive years. She was also described by friends and teachers as optimistic, kind, and trusting. It was at Bismarck High that she began dating Bruce D. Perry, a fellow student who seemed to match up well with her. Bruce was an athlete, a track
Oh yeah.
Immediately after the wedding, the newlyweds packed their belongings and moved 1,500 miles west to Palo Alto, California. They settled into Quillen Hall, a residence for married students located in Escondido Village on the Stanford campus. The transition was abrupt. Arliss went from being a beloved, well-known figure in a small community where she had lived her entire life to being an unknown individual in a sprawling, high-pressure academic environment. This marked a difficult period of adjustment for Arliss. While Bruce was immediately immersed in the rigorous demands of a sophomore pre-med curriculum, Arliss found herself adrift. She secured a job as a receptionist at a law firm in nearby Palo Alto. While this provided some structure to her days, it did not provide the community she craved. The cultural gap between Bismarck and the Bay Area in the mid-1970s was significant. Stanford was a hub of liberal thought, counterculture,
I mean, skip. Use your brain, dude. Just vote them out.
Letters she wrote to friends back in North Dakota during these 6 weeks revealed her deep sense of loneliness. She expressed feeling out of
What? What? Yo. Purple. What?
back home. She relied heavily on Bruce for social.
I thought Purple was cooking.
Arliss sought to maintain her spiritual life. She was drawn to
I thought Purple was cooking. How y'all all clear? How y'all all clear each other and still vote?
that reminded her of
Yo, Purple. I thought you was cooking.
pray or simply to sit in the
I mean, wow. I mean, wow. How did I can't even process how Coral got voted out. If Banana and Coral was with each other, how did she get 3 votes? I don't even know who voted it. Rose hasn't been one of them. But no, it was Purple and Banana both voted them. Are we trolling? Get the expert tag off this shitty fucking lobby, Purple.
At this time, the church was quiet but not empty. A few other visitors were leaving, and the atmosphere was peaceful. At midnight, Steve Crawford, the 28-year-old night security guard, began his closing routine. Crawford was a former police officer who had been demoted to security guard following a departmental restructuring, a setback that had reportedly left him bitter and resentful. Crawford later told investigators that he locked the main doors of the church at approximately 12:10 a.m. He claimed to have performed a sweep of the interior to ensure no one was left inside. In his initial statement, he asserted that the church was empty when he secured it. This claim was critical. If Arliss was inside, as witnesses suggested, Crawford either missed her during his sweep or found her and chose to ignore her. Given the open layout of the sanctuary, missing a person in the pews during a security sweep was highly improbable. Crawford stated that he returned to the church at 2 a.m. for a routine check. He told police he checked the exterior doors and found them all locked. This timeline implies that if Arliss was still inside the church after the lockup, then she was trapped inside for 2 hours. Back at Quillen Hall, Bruce grew increasingly anxious. Arliss had been gone for over 3 hours, far longer than a typical prayer session. At 3 a.m., he called the Stanford Police Department to report her missing. Officers were dispatched to check the area. They arrived at Memorial Church and checked the perimeter. They found the outer doors locked and observed no signs of forced entry. Crucially, because the doors were locked and the interior was dark, they did not enter the building. They assumed that if she wasn't outside, she wasn't going to be inside either. At 5:45 a.m., Crawford called the Stanford Police Dispatch and said the following: "We have a stiff here." Crawford claimed that when he arrived to unlock the church for the morning, he found the west side door forced open from the inside. He then led officers to the east transept of the church near the altar. When police entered, they found Arliss's body lying face up, positioned between the pews near the altar. An ice pick was buried deep into the base of her skull behind her left ear. The handle had snapped off, likely due to the force of the blow or a struggle, and was missing. From the waist down, she was nude with her jeans lying across her legs. A large altar candle was inserted into her private area and another was placed across her chest. These specific elements of the crime scene led to the popularity of the satanic narrative surrounding the crime. Initial forensic analysis identified a fluid found near the body which investigators initially believed to be sperm, but 1970s analysis later identified it as candle wax, complicating the sexual motive theory. However, faint traces of biological material, later identified as DNA, were present on her clothing. While there were signs that someone attempted to open a door from the inside, there was a lack of evidence indicating forced entry. This implied that the killer either hid inside the church before lockup, possessed a key to the building, or was let in by someone with a key. This detail should have focused suspicion narrowly on those with access, yet it was gradually obscured by the sensationalism of the satanic theories. As is standard procedure in almost all homicide investigations, the victim's husband was the first person of interest. Bruce Perry faced intense scrutiny in the immediate aftermath of his wife's death. He admitted to the argument and to letting Arliss walk to the church alone late at night, admissions that, while honest, painted a picture of domestic friction that police often view as a precursor to violence. However, Bruce's cooperative demeanor and consistent story began to clear him. He voluntarily submitted to interrogation and, crucially, a polygraph test. In 1974, law enforcement placed heavy weight on polygraph results, often treating them as near-definitive indicators of truthfulness. He passed his test with no signs of deception. Furthermore, witness testimony from his dorm mates at Quillen Hall corroborated his timeline, confirming he had returned home and remained there until he called the police at 3 a.m. While he was eventually cleared as a suspect, the cloud of suspicion hung over him for years. In 1974, DNA profiling did not exist. Investigators found a partial palm print on one of the candles used to desecrate Arliss's body, but it did not match Crawford or Bruce. They also collected biological samples from Arliss's genes, stains that had biological material potentially containing the killer's DNA. However, without the technology to analyze them, these stains were essentially useless, locked away in an evidence locker for over 4 decades. With physical leads exhausted and the primary suspects seemingly cleared by polygraphs, the investigation stalled while the media continued to sensationalize the crime. During this period is when a compelling theory emerged. In the late 1970s, journalist Maury Terry began investigating the Son of Sam murders in New York City. He conducted extensive research into David Berkowitz's claims and developed a theory that fundamentally challenged the official narrative. Terry believed that David did not act alone, but was instead part of a nationwide satanic cult called the Process Church of the Final Judgment. According to Terry's research, this cult was allegedly responsible for ritualistic murders across the country, spanning multiple states and lasting years. The theory was particularly intriguing because it offered a compelling explanation for the bizarre and grotesque elements of the Arliss crime scene. The location near the altar, the ritualistic arrangement of the body, and the deliberate placement of candles in the victim's body all suggested to Terry the work of organized cult operatives rather than a lone predator. He meticulously compiled evidence, or what he believed was evidence, linking the Arliss Perry murder to other alleged cult killings and to Berkowitz's activity.
Yo, how was it nobody that died? Or I thought it was Gray.
Published his theories
Hold up.
The Ultimate Evil, The Search for the Sons of Sam. The book presented a detailed narrative that connected disparate crimes across the country through a supposed satanic network. For many readers and investigators, the book seemed to solve a puzzle that had confounded law enforcement. The theory exploded into the mainstream and gained immense credibility when David Berkowitz himself began communicating with investigators from his prison cell. Berkowitz, serving
I thought y'all said it was Gray.
5-year sentence for the Son of Sam murders, sought to imprison notoriety for purposes that remain unclear to this day. Some theorists suggest he wanted to dilute his own personal responsibility by suggesting he was part of a larger conspiracy. Others believe he simply relished the attention and the power that came from possessing or claiming to possess information about unsolved murders. Berkowitz began writing letters to the North Dakota Police Department, citing Arliss's home state as the origin point of the alleged cult's interest in her. In one package, he sent a book about witchcraft with handwritten margin notes. One note in particular burned itself into the minds of investigators. The note said, Arliss Perry hunted, stalked, and slain, followed to California, Stanford University. This specific reference convinced many, including experienced detectives, that Berkowitz possessed genuine inside knowledge of the crime. Berkowitz spun an elaborate tale that Arliss had been specifically targeted because she had attempted to convert cult members in Bismarck before moving to Stanford with her new husband. According to this narrative, the cult had followed her to Palo Alto to silence her and prevent her from continuing to spread her Christian faith. The murder in Berkowitz's telling was not a crime of assault, but a ritualistic execution designed to send a message to others who might oppose the cult's agenda. This theory fundamentally redirected the investigation. Detectives flew to New York to interview David Berkowitz in person, hoping he would provide verifiable details that would confirm the theory. They also traveled to North Dakota to interview cult members that Berkowitz claimed had been involved in Arliss's death. Berkowitz was incredibly cryptic. He provided riddles, suggested connections, hinted at larger conspiracies, but offered nothing definitively provable. Every time investigators seemed close to confirming a detail, he would hedge or deflect, maintaining his mystique without ever providing information that could be verified or falsified. Fast forward to 2016, detectives took a fresh look at the evidence with a new perspective. The satanic angle was finally and definitively discarded in favor of Occam's razor, meaning the simplest explanation is often the best when multiple are present. In this case, it was the man with the keys who had committed the crime. Using modern DNA extraction techniques that were completely unavailable in the 1970s, criminologists isolated a DNA profile from the fluid and stains on Arliss's genes. The result was a definitive match to Stephen Crawford. This physical evidence directly contradicted Crawford's 1974 claim that he had merely found the body. On the morning of June 28, 2018, sheriff's deputies arrived at the Camden Avenue apartment complex in San Jose, where the 72-year-old Crawford lived. They had both a search warrant and an arrest warrant, equipped with the forensic evidence that had finally proven his guilt. Deputies knocked on the door and announced their presence as law enforcement. Through the window and open blinds, they observed Crawford sitting on his bed. Upon seeing the uniforms and recognizing the inevitable, Crawford produced a handgun. Deputies ordered him to drop the weapon, but instead of complying, Crawford fired a single fatal shot at himself. He died at the scene, bringing an end to his life and robbing the justice system of its opportunity to prosecute him in open court. A subsequent search of Crawford's apartment revealed that the murder had likely haunted or perhaps obsessed him for decades. Police found the jacket cover of Maury Terry's The Ultimate Evil, the very book that falsely attributed Crawford's crime to a satanic cult. It is speculated that Crawford kept this as a trophy, or perhaps out of dark amazement that the public had been so thoroughly deceived by theories that pointed away from him. A 2-page typed note was also found, believed to have been written around 2016 when detectives had interviewed him again regarding the renewed investigation. In the note, Crawford did not explicitly confess to the details of the murder, but expressed despair over the renewed investigation, stating, "I have no desire to spend the rest of my life in some 8x10 cell." It was later realized that in 1992, Crawford was arrested for a series of thefts at Stanford. He had been systematically stealing rare books and historical documents from the university libraries while he worked as a security guard. He was convicted and sentenced to prison for those crimes. He appeared to be a non-violent, albeit dishonest thief with no connection to Arliss's murder. For the Perry family and Bruce, the resolution brought closure but no justice in court. Bruce, who went on to become a renowned child psychiatrist and expert on trauma, lived under the cloud of this tragedy for over half his life. The psychological burden of suspicion and the loss of his young wife shaped his career and his understanding of human suffering. The sheriff of Santa Clara, Laurie Smith, stated after the incident, "We had enough evidence to arrest him, and we believe we would have had enough evidence to convict him. Had modern DNA technology and investigative techniques been available in 1974, the case would have been solved in days, not decades."
What is this lobby, man?
September of 1888. Streets of Whitechapel were a dark and frightening.
Like, to get the fuck up out of that shit.
On September 13th, 2016, a call came into Ashland's emergency line. The woman speaking was almost impossible to hear. She stayed quiet, kept her voice low, and only gave pieces of information at a time. The pauses between her words made it clear she wasn't alone, and that whoever she was with couldn't know she was calling for help. The address she gave led officers to an abandoned house on the edge of town. They found her alive, and they found the man who had been hiding there. But what they didn't expect was what the call would lead to. It didn't only save her, it opened the door to everything he'd been doing, long before that night. The caller was being held by a man named Sean Michael Great. He was born in Marion, Ohio in 1976, and although people remembered him as friendly when he was young, his home life was broken from an early age. His parents divorced just before his 6th birthday, and when he was 11, his mother left the family entirely. According to his half-sister, the tension between them was obvious long before she moved away. As a teenager, he started showing behavior that didn't match how others remembered him. A girl he dated in high school said he would sometimes lie on the couch for days without speaking to anyone. A court psychiatrist later described him as a withdrawn kid shaped by years of instability at home. By the time he was a young adult, the problems in his personal life were already visible. In 1994, he was arrested for grabbing a girlfriend, Christina Hildreth, by the throat. Not long after that, he was caught breaking into a house with a younger accomplice, stealing jewelry and money. He was charged with felony burglary and sent to prison, though he didn't stay long. When he got out, he moved through different towns and relationships, drifting between homes and jobs, leaving behind a trail of complaints and incidents that never led to anything more serious at the time. By the time police reached that abandoned house in 2016, they still had no idea who they were dealing with. All they knew was that a woman was being held there. It was only after his arrest that investigators began connecting him to a series of disappearances stretching back a decade, cases that had gone cold for years and were never linked to one another until his name appeared in all of them. The earliest case tied to him was a woman named Dana Nicole Lowry. She was 23 and traveling across the country selling magazines. She kept in touch with the father of her daughters during her trip, calling him from different states as she moved from place to place. In May of 2006, she told him she was in Ohio, and then the calls stopped. For years, people close to her assumed she had decided to start over somewhere else. But what actually happened was far different. Sean told investigators that Dana had sold a magazine subscription to his mother and never delivered it, believing she scammed her. He later found her, convinced her to get into his car by telling her he wanted to buy more magazines, and brought her back to his home. In the backyard, he strangled her until she lost consciousness, then dragged her into the basement and stabbed her in the neck with a kitchen knife. He wrapped her body in sheets and left it along Victory Road, then returned home to burn the items covered in blood before going back to the site to burn the body. Nearly 10 years after Dana Lowry, another disappearance would be traced back to him. In early 2015, he met a woman named Rebecca Lisi. She was 31 and working in sex work at the time. The two met in a bar, and at some point, later on in the night,
She took $4 from him. According to his later confession, that was the reason why he killed her. He strangled her and left her body behind. When authorities first found her, they believed she had died from an overdose. There was nothing at the scene that pointed to anything else. It was only after Sean's arrest that detectives learned what had actually happened, and her cause of death was re-examined in light of what he told them. Another woman tied to him was Candice Cunningham. She was 29 and had been in an on-and-off relationship with him for about 5 years. People around her thought she had settled into something stable, and for a long time there was nothing that suggested she was in danger. When he was arrested in 2016, he told officers there was another body they hadn't located. He took them to a property in Richland County behind a burned-out house and said the remains there were Candice. He told investigators he killed her in June of that year after keeping her there for several days. In his statement, he described her as a problem. The Richland County Sheriff's Office would later confirm that the remains were hers. 2 more women disappeared in the months before the 911 call. Stacey Stanley, also known as Stacey Hicks, went missing in early September 2016. Her family had reported her disappearance days earlier and had been searching for her ever since. She was 43 and had recently moved back into the area to be closer to her relatives. Around the same time, another woman named Elizabeth Griffith had been missing for nearly a month. She was 29 and lived with mental health challenges that made her disappearance especially worrying to the people who knew her. Her family had been in contact with police, hoping for any update, but there was nothing that pointed to where she had gone or who she had been seen with last. His final victim, the woman in the 911 recording, is known publicly only as Jane Doe. She met Sean through a neighbor, a woman she often talked to at her apartment complex. The 3 of them would occasionally spend time together, and Sean used those moments to build trust with her. They played badminton outside, talked casually, and he presented himself as someone friendly and harmless. In reality, he had already moved into a vacant house in Ashland after breaking into it earlier that summer. He spent most of his days there, drifting between shelters, churches, and the Salvation Army, where he met another woman he grew close to. He hid his behavior well enough that none of the people around him realized what he was doing. Jane Doe eventually felt comfortable enough to follow him into the house. Once she was inside, he stopped letting her leave. Over the next 2 days, he tied her to a bed and assaulted her repeatedly. She later told investigators he attacked her in every way imaginable, often while quoting Bible passages or talking to her as if they were having a normal conversation. He kept her restrained the entire time. When she tried to push him away, he choked her until she stopped resisting. He gave her pills, tied her hands above her head, and recorded the assaults on his phone. She said she spent most of those days trying to stay conscious and waiting for any chance to escape. And that chance came late into the second night. Sean eventually fell asleep beside her, and a phone was left on the bed within reach. She listened to him breathing, waited for his body to go completely still, and tried to slide her hands far enough through the restraints to reach the phone. Even the ringtone barely made him move. Once she managed to hold it, she dialed 911 with her hands still tied. She whispered into the receiver, careful not to make any sound loud enough to wake him.
That was tight. My bitch. It probably is black. Oh, what the fuck, that right go? Red said it was you. You killed him in cafe. So it's you. What the fuck are you talking about, yo? Say, buddy. Whatever you say, buddy. Get the fuck out. You go. Twin. Fuck yeah. Dog, you suck. You suck. You suck at this game. Rain, rain, go away, let the sun come out, and all the people say. This is family business. This is for everybody that's standing with us. Bow, 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 bow. Alright, I'm gonna kill these fools and I'm gonna get off right after. I let go. Oh, that's so loud. Okay, let's kill some people. That joint is so fast.
On March 4th, 2016,
They didn't say that.
in Fenton Township, Michigan, an ordinary hangout between two teenage friends takes a sudden, deadly turn. By the night's end, one life
Kill cooldown 32.
16-year-old Durman Abduakil would be left
I'm
with
tracker.
consequences. As investigators work to understand what happened between them,
Bottom of storage.
behavior begin to surface, leaving them grappling with how so many glaring warning signs have been missed.
Black. Yeah, let's put black.
At approximately 11 p.m.,
It's white.
911 dispatchers respond to a frantic call from someone who confesses
Son.
Hello? Ma'am, hello? Please, I accidentally killed my friend. Okay, what happened? Ma'am, I accidentally killed my friend. What did you do? Get out! You guys, get out! Oh my God. What is your name? Ma'am, I'm at Abdu. He's dead. My friend's dead. Okay, listen. How did you accidentally kill him?
Officers arrived to find Abdu in a panicked state, his hands and shirt covered in blood, with a recently fired handgun nearby. Abdu is handcuffed and placed in the back of a police cruiser, but the realization of what he's done quickly takes its toll, sending him spiraling into an intense emotional breakdown.
Sir, please tell him I love him. Sir, please. Sir, I'm so scared. I'm so scared right now.
Can I let go? When the road gets hard to see, are you strong enough to lead? But I know deep down that I'm not.
There's somebody to be shot. Officer, please. I know my word doesn't mean. Officer, please talk to me, dude. I swear to God, what the happened? Dude, officer, please! Oh my God! Why? No, I will not relax. I just killed my son. How can you relax? How the can you relax?
More details from the 911 call reveal Abdu's frantic explanation and the chaos that erupted soon after.
How did you kill him?
Black is so retarded. He only blamed White though because White blamed him.
Is he still breathing? He's still breathing. He was breathing brain on the wall. Okay, if he's breathing, you can't do anything for him. Go outside. He's turning blue. He's turning blue. That means he's turning blue.
What did she say? It just say if he's breathing, you can't do anything. What?
Brain on the wall. Okay, if he's breathing, you can't do anything for him. Go outside. He's turning blue. He's turning blue. That means he's turning blue. Abdu, what are you doing? Oh, I'm giving him.
We lucky could have voted out time.
Not give him mouth to mouth.
I thought the thing was on.
Is he breathing?
The voter, you can see who votes.
Okay, then don't do anything. If you can put more pressure on the wound.
Damn, why the kills? I got
His side on Abdu's bedroom floor, still breathing. Paramedics rushed the teen to the Genesis Regional Medical Center for urgent treatment.
I thought he was still on there. I'm gonna walk past somebody and kill him.
I'm so sorry. Sir, I don't know what I did. He needs to know. I tried to give him all the gun. I pointed a gun. Hey. And brought the trigger. Stop. I need to die. You know that?
Corazón, te quiero.
Unable to cope with the nightmare unfolding around him, Abdu makes a disturbing request.
Please let them kill me. Please let them
That coconut was ridiculous. 33.
While Abdu insists that the shooting was a tragic accident, investigators are tasked with uncovering the truth. They begin to collect evidence, first securing the firearm used to shoot Brady. With the possibility that the firearm may have belonged to Abdu's parents, investigators begin to question them both. In an interview with police, Abdu's father Ahmed claims the firearms found in the home belonged to him. As for why they weren't secured, he explains that his safe had been broken into many years ago. But in a shocking twist, it was all quickly determined that the firearm used to shoot Brady was not one of the stolen firearms, nor did it belong to Abdu's parents, raising unnerving questions about its origins. However, both of Abdu's parents adamantly insist that Abdu never owned any guns of his own, their firm denial adding another layer of mystery to the unfolding investigation.
Where the you at? Where the y'all push? There ain't no action, there ain't no action type pussy.
Inside the cruiser, Abdu's emotions continue
Ain't about no action.
as the weight of the situation presses down on him.
Good man, just breathe for me. Hey.
He was a, he's, what?
You'll never straighten it out. You'll never straighten it out.
After completing their initial investigation and securing the crime scene, officers bring Abdu to the station for interrogation. In the meantime, they seize his cell phone and quickly stumble upon dozens of video recordings, unaware of the dreadful truths they'll soon witness. As they dive into the footage,
It's like making me composable down.
Abdu's relationships with the victim, Brady, and his friends emerge.
I don't want to kill these. Not kill. Oh, somebody called me. Oh, it's probably not Jane, the scammer or some shit. Shit said plus 52. Yellow phantom, okay.
The videos leave investigators questioning how this seemingly solid friendship could have spiraled into such a devastating outcome that left Abdu absolutely distraught.
Why the would I do that? Brady!
To further explore possible motivations that may have resulted in the horrific crime, investigators identify two friends from the videos, Keegan and Devin, and quickly bring them in for questioning. They begin pressing them for insights into Abdu's history of violent behavior. According to both friends, Abdu not only kept multiple firearms in his room, but on occasion would fire them inside the house.
Alright, boy, feeling hype as you know what I'm saying? Heated. Heat. What's up? Go.
According to them, his many targets would include furniture, the floorboard, and even the crawl space beneath his family home. However, Keegan and Devin's admissions only confirm what investigators already know from Abdu's videos, and they fail to shed light on the truth of what transpired between Abdu and Brady. While one mystery remains elusive, another is solved when Keegan makes the sudden, startling admission that he knows exactly where the firearm came from. Keegan temporarily traded it to Abdu in exchange for an iPad, setting in motion the unthinkable tragedy that would happen soon after.
Go. No Snapchat.
With the origins of the firearm explained, investigators are still scrambling to determine if what happened between Brady and Abdu was truly an accident.
Oh my God! Brady! Brady! Brady!
During interrogation, Abdu would finally reveal exactly what transpired, but his harrowing reasons for pulling the trigger would leave everyone stunned.
The gun was empty, I was just around with it. Then he gave me the bullet. When did he give you the bullet? He gave me the bullet. I put it in the clip. Then I went to the bathroom, was playing with the gun, cocked it back, and went back. I was Brady, and I forgot completely that I cocked a bullet in there. Then he even gave me a bullet. So he just gave you the bullet. You went to the bathroom, came right back. Yeah, then I shot him in the head, dude, like a dog.
I'm a stupid. Why?
You recording me because you're stupid? Because you have a pistol on you.
I don't have.
Show the camera your pistol. Show it. Show it. Yeah, see that? That's what I do. Don't take them with you.
At the hospital, just an hour after the tragedy struck, 18-year-old Brady Morris was pronounced dead. The cause of death was a single gunshot wound to the head.
I'm just shots.
Got all these bikes, Glocks.
Under my.
That's what's going on. That's what's going on. And a black guy. Alright. New bit.
Abdurrahman Abdu Akil was charged with 1 count of open murder, 1 count of receiving and concealing a firearm, and 2 counts of felony firearm possession. He was denied bond and sent to the Genesee Valley Regional Center in Flint, Michigan. On August 13th, 2017, Abdu pleaded guilty to an amended charge of manslaughter, as well as felony possession of firearms. He was sentenced to 57 to 180 months in prison, including a mandatory 2-year sentence for the firearm charge. At the time of death was a single gunshot wound to the head.
I'm with the shots.
Got all these bikes, Glocks.
Under my.
That's what's going on. That's what's going on. And a black guy. Alright. New bit.
Abdurrahman Abdu Akil was charged with 1 count of open murder, 1 count of receiving and concealing a firearm, and 2 counts of felony firearm possession. He was denied bond and sent to the Genesee Valley Regional Center in Flint, Michigan. On August 13th, 2017, Abdu pleaded guilty to an amended charge of manslaughter, as well as felony possession of firearms. He was sentenced to 57 to sentence for the firearm charge. At the time.
I'm with the shots.
Time of his sentencing in 2020, he was credited for the 3 years and 6 months he'd already served. He was paroled on December 5th, 2023, at the age of 23, after serving a total of 6 years and 9 months behind bars.
We're live in Richland County, South Carolina, where Deputy Donnie Ray Campbell's been called to immediately back up Lieutenant Danny Brown.
Hey, give me those units, give me a channel.
On December 5th, 2023, at the age of 23, after serving a total of 6 years and 9 months behind bars.
We're live in Richland County, South Carolina, where Deputy Donnie Ray Campbell's been called to immediately back up Lieutenant Danny Brown.
Hey, give me those units, give me a channel.
Predators are some of the most disgusting and terrifying criminals out there. But what happens when they finally get caught in the act and face the punishment they deserve?
Can you show me that he's only 17? I can put you in handcuffs and throw you in the back of a car.
Here are 4 spine-chilling reactions from sinister predators realizing they've been caught, starting with the most shocking of all. In March of 2017, a father contacted the Moore Police Department about his 17-year-old son. He revealed that his son had checked into the Super 8 motel and he was worried about him, so the police went to check on him. Predators are some of the most... Usually, cops expect the killer to be a full-grown adult. But what happens when it's secretly a teenager?
You're just arresting me on a charge that's made up.
On the 2nd of May 2023, a single stray bullet was found on the floor of the school's cafeteria. Immediately, the school was placed under strict lockdown, and police started to search every single student in the school. They knew how serious this could be, as at any moment, the owner of that bullet could have stepped forward and unleashed deathly havoc on the entire school. However, in a sudden turn of events, a student approaches the police and asks a strange question.
question.
It's not a bullet you found on the ground, right? Oh, okay. Somebody find something you know about?
Because I had a bullet in my pocket, but it wasn't like, it's not like I'm planning anything.
Oh,
I
okay.
dropped
Wait,
it on the ground.
okay.
I didn't know I'm not allowed to bring a bullet.
Okay, why don't you call him? He's gonna call him.
Wait, I'm not like a school shooter.
The student was identified as Nolan Rosen, who, despite all evidence to the contrary, claims he's not planning anything, and he's not a school shooter. Obviously, though, the police just can't take him at his word, and they have to treat him as an immediate threat to the school's safety.
If I was a school shooter, I wouldn't tell you. You know what I mean? Today's day and age, you know, they gotta do safety. That's just it. Well, let me ask you this while I got you right here. And just be honest with me. You didn't bring any gun into school, did you?
No.
That's the only you only had one round?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't like bring a gun into school.
No, okay, I know.
That's not my intention.
You know,
Do you remember when that cartoon marketing campaign sent an entire city into panic mode because people thought terrorists were placing bombs everywhere? Now this story starts with this guy. His name's Zebler. And Zebler is 27 during this time, and he's living in Boston, and he works as a freelance artist. But one day, around 2006, 2007, he gets a message from this guy, John. And John works for a marketing company in New York that has been hired to promote a movie. The movie he's going to promote is based on a TV show titled Aqua Teen Hunger Force. You know, that cartoon about a box of fries, a milkshake, and a talking meatball? I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. Now, it's John and his company's job to come up with a promotional campaign for this movie. And instead of running a bunch of normal ads on TV or whatever, John and his company, they want to try something different. They want to do something a little offbeat and confusing, something that can create a lot of buzz. So they come up with this idea to make LED boxes of one of the show's characters called the Moonanites. Here's one of them here flipping the middle finger. Once they make these LED boxes, their plan is to place the signs in random places within major cities across the country. And that is exactly what they do. They start placing them in 9 different cities, including Los Angeles and Chicago. But then it's time to place them in Boston. So John tells Zebler that he has about 40 of these blinking Moonanite signs, and he wants him to install them in certain spots around the city. And for this gig, he offers to pay Zebler $300. And Zebler's like, sweet! I guess he needs the money. But he figures that he can't hang 40 signs all by himself, so he asks his friend to help him. His friend is this guy, Sean. And so Sean hears this idea, and he's also like, sweet! So Zebler and Sean, they go and pick up the signs. And together, they set the whole thing up, and they put in all the batteries, and they wire the LED boxes properly and whatnot. Once they're done, they head out, and they start placing the 40 LED boxes all across Boston. They put them on the subway, on bridges, on highways. Basically, they put them anywhere where a lot of people will pass so that a lot of people will see them. So after however long, they end up finishing the job and they're done. And several days go by. And it's hard to say if their ad campaign is working because, there's no news, there's no buzz around these light boxes. It's almost like no one really notices them. So these guys are starting to think that maybe the whole ad campaign failed. But then things start to get out of control. Because at one point, a random pedestrian is at a local subway station and he sees one of the boxes. And this guy is thinking, what the hell is that? I mean, he doesn't know what it means. I guess he's never seen the show. But he sees that there are batteries and some electrical wiring connected to this thing. And he immediately becomes suspicious. Why is there an 8-bit character hanging on the wall? Why is he flipping the middle finger? Why is there wires connected to it? Is this some sort of bomb? So this dude starts freaking out a little, and he alerts the police at the local police station. And soon, an officer arrives, and he sees it, and he doesn't know what the hell it is either. He's thinking it could possibly be a bomb. So this officer calls the bomb squad, and he tells them that they need to come check this thing out because it might be an explosive or something. And so the bomb squad hears this, and they take it seriously. And pretty quickly, the bomb squad unit is on their way. And once they arrive, they start looking at this Moonanite light, and they also don't know what the hell it is. But when they see all the batteries and the electrical wiring, they conclude that it's an IED, or an improvised explosive device. So they begin treating it like an actual bomb. And so as a precaution, they start evacuating people out of the area, just in case this alleged bomb goes off. Then they start trying to secure this device. And eventually they use some sort of water cannon to break it apart. I guess that's how they break apart bombs, this water cannon. After that, they're able to determine that this Mooninite light box is not actually an explosive device and is in fact safe, but they still can't figure out exactly what it is. Now, here's where things start to escalate. Around this time, more citizens spot these light boxes in different areas around the city. Because remember, there are 40 of them. And these things are on highways and in subways and on overpasses and all kinds of places. So a lot of people see them and call them into the police as well. So the police dispatch more bomb squad units to those locations too. And by now, word has spread to the local news, and the local news is covering this and reporting that there's a possible bomb threat in Boston. So the city starts shutting down. They shut down several roads and a highway, and part of a local river is shut down for passing boats, because a lot of people are legitimately worried. Meanwhile, Zebler, he's in his apartment, and he hears about all this on the news. And he's like, a bomb? I gotta go check it out. So he takes his camera and he decides to go film whatever's going on. And when he gets to the scene of one of those alleged bombs, he realizes that they aren't actually bombs. They're the Mooninite LED boxes that he himself put up. So he rushes back to his apartment and he calls John. John, the guy who's actually in charge of the ad campaign. And he tells him, you know, people think your light boxes are actually bombs. And John's like, okay, don't say anything. We'll take care of it. Here's the thing, though. John and his company, they don't actually take care of it. They don't say anything immediately. I'm not sure why they didn't speak up right away. It would have helped a lot. And hours go by, and still, the police and the city are in full panic mode. And still, the officers involved can't identify the devices or who even put them there. And it's starting to feel like Boston is under some kind of coordinated terrorist attack. Until a younger police officer working at one of the scenes sees the signs, and he's like, wait, is this from Aqua Teen Hunger Force? And he figures out that all of this is just a marketing stunt gone wrong. And he tells the rest of the department, and so the entire emergency mobilization gets called off. Later, Turner Broadcasting, the parent company of Cartoon Network that hired the advertising company, releases a statement apologizing for the confusion. However, at this point, it's too late. The Boston police and the city government are really pissed off. Like, really pissed off.
In a post-9/11 world, who puts cartoon characters attached to batteries on bridges around Boston? Some sort of moron?
And so, police track down Zebler and Sean, and bam, they arrest them both. And they are both charged with placing hoax devices in a way that caused public panic, along with one count of disorderly conduct. And they both end up pleading not guilty. And by the way, these two guys, they don't seem to be taking this whole thing seriously at all. Like, they figure since the city wants to overreact and treat them like terrorists, that they're just gonna treat the whole situation like it's one big joke. So, during a press conference, after a court session, when reporters ask them about the incident, they completely dodge the question. And instead, they start talking about their hair and, like, haircuts.
What we really want to talk about today, it's kind of important to some people. It's haircuts in the 70s. These guys are not taking it seriously.
Yeah, I really feel like we're not getting the feedback that we need.
Now, eventually, both these guys, they take plea deals, and they are both sentenced to community service. And later, the advertising company and Turner Broadcasting agree to pay the city of Boston $2 million to avoid civil and criminal charges. But not long after that, the CEO of Cartoon Network has to take responsibility for the incident, and he actually has to resign. Like, the dude resigned over this stupid thing. So this guy really, really wants to eat people. Now, the guy's name is Gilberto, and Gilberto is 28 when the story starts, and he's living in Queens, New York. And Gilberto, he's doing all right for himself. He works as a police officer, he just got married, and he has a little baby. But despite that, he's got a problem. He's got some pretty dark fantasies. Fantasies about kidnapping and murdering and even eating women. But they're just fantasies. And because these thoughts are creepy as hell, he keeps all of this to himself. No reason to tell anyone. But one day in 2012, all that changes. Because he gets on the internet and he starts visiting forums and chat rooms for people who have similar fantasies as him. And there, Gilberto starts connecting with people and he finally feels at home. Like there are other people who have these crazy thoughts like he does. And so he makes friends and he starts talking to these other users about eating people and whatnot and how wonderful that would be. Specifically though, he will describe horrible things that he would like to do to his own wife. Now, his wife is this woman, Kathleen. And Kathleen and Gilberto, they've been married for a while, and she has no idea that he's into all this weird stuff. So Gilberto will describe all of the horrible things that he would like to do to Kathleen to his online friends, and his online friends seem to love it. And this, in turn, encourages Gilberto to come up with more and more disturbing fantasy scenarios and describe them to his online friends. And over time, he starts writing scenarios about other people in his life. Like he'll write scenarios about his coworkers and his friends and his neighbors. He'll create detailed, descriptive scenarios of how he would kidnap them and murder them and then, I guess, eat them for dinner or whatever. And then he'll discuss these scenarios with his online friends, and this is apparently a lot of fun for him and all of the rest of them. Then they start crossing a line, because at some point during all this, Gilberto meets this guy online, Michael. Michael, he's apparently really into this whole eating people thing too. So Gilberto sends Michael a photo of his wife's friend, and Michael thinks this woman is fine. Good enough to eat, I guess you could say. So Gilberto then offers to kidnap his wife's friend and sell her to Michael. And I guess Michael's like, alright. So they start negotiating on the price. And eventually they settle at $5,000. Now, luckily, Gilberto does not end up kidnapping his wife's friend. I'll explain why he didn't do it in a bit. But he does start falling into a pattern of offering up women to his creepy online friends. In one chat, Gilberto talks about cutting up a woman's feet and barbecuing them and making her watch while she's still alive. Ew. Another time, he tells an online friend about one of his former classmates from college and how she'd be an easy target because she lives alone now. And he talks about exactly how he'd attack her and that he'd wait until it's dark and then he'd break into her house and knock her unconscious and abduct her, and then he would murder her and cook her in olive oil. He then creates a document on his computer that he names Abducting and Cooking Kimberly, a blueprint, because that's the potential victim's name, is Kimberly. And in the document, he writes down everything he can find about Kimberly, her ethnicity, her height, her weight, even her bra size. He also writes a list of things that he would need to kidnap her. Chloroform, a strong rope to tie her up, plastic bags to protect the car trunk from any DNA. So he's putting a lot of thought into this. And once he finishes writing all of this, he emails the whole thing to his online friend. And I guess the friend is like, sweet, it's perfect. These people are fucking weird. Oh, but it actually gets even worse. One time, he's texting with one of his online friends from Pakistan. And he sends the friend a picture of his wife,